Are you ready to step beyond the veil of reality? I'm Morgan Knudsen.
And I'm Mike Browne. We're the hosts of the podcast Supernatural Circumstances.
Here we delve into the unexplained mysteries that have captivated minds for centuries.
From ghostly encounters to cryptid sightings, each episode explores the unknown.
Join us as we interview experts, skeptics, and witnesses, exploring different perspectives on the paranormal.
Whether it's a poltergeist, a mysterious disappearance, or an otherworldly visitation, in each show, we bring you mind-bending tales with in-depth analysis by expert guests.
So dim the lights, open your mind, and prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the supernatural, the paranormal, and the unknown.
Don't miss Supernatural Circumstances. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform.
So welcome everybody to the Supernatural Circumstances podcast. And I am really excited to be here today. If you guys want to subscribe to the extended version of this podcast, the full version, please go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get great podcasts and find Supernatural Circumstances. We are the paranormal podcast without the bullshit. So here we are. And Eric, it is so good to have you on today because this is actually our Halloween episode.
Boo.
Yeah, baby. Well, it's good. I love this because, I've thank you so much. I've been on your show several times, and I know you've been on my show, but it's nice to be doing this as a video interview as well on your show.
It is. It's good to see everybody. It's really great to see everybody.
Because the questions are, everybody wanted to know, what does Mike Browne really look like?
Oh, too many people are about to find that out. So, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. Well, Eric, I can't wait to get into this because your new book, Eric Mintel Investigates, Casebook 2016, what a fun just anthology of cases that you've investigated. It is so much fun to read. This is just so cool. Yeah. Where do we even start? How did you decide which cases even went into this book? I mean, you've been doing this a really long time, and you've got a ton of stories. How do you piece through these stories and actually get this into a concise book?
Oh,
it's amazing.
God. Well, and as well as I, you can't really write, and when you're doing an investigation, right, you can't write that stuff. It just happens, right? So
Absolutely.
I tried to take the cases that we've been on that some real high strangeness happened, both personally and for the team. So I figured those would make the book. And right off the bat, we're all about the truth-based investigating, and we go in there. And a lot of times, believe it or not, I will go into these things very skeptically, like saying what is going on here, in the ghost situation or something. And you've heard me say it before. I'll be like, look, is it pipes in the basement making those sounds? Is it like an animal on the roof? Is it people out on the street that people are hearing these disembodied voices in the house? But with that being said, and then with what we've actually caught on camera and in these investigations, I am a firm believer that there is a real thin veil from here to there. And then people are seeing something at the end of the day, that we can't explain. And are they connected to these creatures or these entities? Are they connected to UFOs, Bigfoot, whatever? Or could it be generational? Is it in people's family lines? But so with that being said, and being, here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which we have a rich history of paranormal activity, I had always had these incredible stories throughout my life, but, and I'm an only child, so my father would always tell me these incredible stories, UFOs, ghosts. In this area we had Washington and all of the Revolutionary War soldiers going through the area. We've got ties to the Underground Railroad. So a lot of really cool stuff that way, and a lot of history. And so that was always in the background. But, mainly I made a career for 31 years as a jazz musician. So, as a jazz musician, but that was always in the background, that was always there. And then why it's 2016 to present and beyond is because in 2016 I started my show. And I was looking at a lot of paranormal shows. And I used to be a filmmaker, too. So I always liked editing and whatnot. And So I saw these shows and I'm like, my God, I could do something like that. That would be really cool with, talking about things in Bucks County. So we started, and at first the videos, to be honest with you, were a little tongue-in-cheek. They were very funny, kinds of stuff like that. But it got serious real quick, whereas people were contacting me at bed and breakfasts and places like that saying, hey, would you guys want to do, a video about our restaurant, bed and breakfast? We think it's haunted. And then we've done these videos now where we'll go in and talk about the history of these wonderful venues, much like they do on TV. And then these people are using these things as events, these videos for events. So we're actually now like a paranormal tourism company, where we're showing people where to go, where to stay, what to do, where to experience these crazy things. And because people love it. People love that experience. But I love it because, look, you know how it is. History is going by the wayside in schools and all over. And I love the history of these things. And what always boggles my mind, and you know this too, people pass by these things every day, and they have no clue what's in their own backyard, right? So that's why I wrote the book. And writing the book, I tell you, it was, well, I don't have to tell you. You've written a couple of books. You know how it is. But for me, I wrote this book, and I wanted to make it like an easy read because I wanted to make it like, look, I wanted to try to say it in my own words, and try to describe each one of the cases, but not going into huge detail and, getting people to look at the YouTube channel, look at the full video. But I must have gone over that book a million times just because, grammatically you want to make it sound fine. I was trying to get people to help me with the book and how to do this. And I was getting, everybody was for everywhere from charging me $3,000 to put this together to this, to that. And I finally just bit the bullet and did it myself. So
there you go.
And again, like everything else in my life, as we just talked about, I think paranormal investigators, creative people are self-starters, right? Yeah. We're like we've got that spark, we've got the talent, we've got the energy. And so that's what I did. Everything in my life, I've always either just asked or have just created it myself. I've never had an agent, nothing like that. I in my music career, I maybe had a handful of people that were booking the group. But if I would have waited for them to get me work, I'd be dead because I'd be starving.
Absolutely. I actually listened to an interview with a celebrity just recently, and what was really interesting about what he had said was that when you're in this industry, business at all, the entertainment business, any sort of the creative side to this stuff, is you have to be willing to pick up a camera and go do it. You can't sit around and wait for people. Nobody's going to come get you. For the most part, nobody's going to come get you. I mean, you'll get opportunities, but those opportunities come when you put that energy out into the universe and you get that momentum going. And that's just how it happens. So let's talk about some of these cases, because you've got so many in here that are so cool. And I want to talk a little bit about some of these historical venues that you are talking about, that you've been through and had cool things in. The one that stood out to me was the Jim Thorpe Inn.
Mm-hmm.
This is so interesting. Can you talk a little bit about the history and what happened to you guys when you were there?
Oh my God! Well, so the Inn at Jim Thorpe is awesome. And Jim Thorpe, as people know, was like a super athlete, and he was Indian. He was American Indian. And just an amazing individual. There's a whole history on Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe is actually a person, but it's also the name of the area up there. But the Inn at Jim Thorpe, I'll tell you, I love working with forward-thinking people. How this whole thing came about was my jazz quartet used to play at the Ma-Chunk Opera House, also in Jim Thorpe. It used to be an old silent movie theater. They turned it into a music venue. Well, the manager there was dating the woman who runs the Inn at Jim Thorpe, and I had said, hey, we're doing this show. I would love to do an investigation at the inn. Knowing about all of these things that have been written about it, it's got all this incredible paranormal history. I said, let's do it. So I talked to the owner. He was totally down with it. And so we went in. We brought a whole bunch of crew in with us, too. But there was supposed to be in one of the rooms like an icy feeling, like you go in and the temperature drops because there was a nurse. It used to be like an old hospital. So one of these rooms was apparently like a hospital room, and everybody that is in this particular room is feeling like a temperature drop. They feel like an icy grip on their arm or on their body somewhere. So we wanted to, experience that, and we wanted to see if we could, experience those entities. But, so we did. We felt like a little bit of a temperature drop in this particular room, which was really weird. And in this one room that we were in, like a lot of people would go in there, and all the furniture would be fine. Now we didn't do it that day. We couldn't get anything on camera, but people were saying they would go out, they would come back into the room, and the furniture was all over the place. And no one else was in there. Like if it
Neat.
was so weird, and that happens a lot there. Even the night of the investigation when we were there, I had gotten a guy said, "Hey, did you see this?" And down in the bar area, somebody shot video of, and I think it was on the security camera, of a little metal tumbler that was on a metal table, and something hit it, and you could see it on my video. Something went like this to the metal tumbler. It didn't fall over, but something hit it, and it was nothing. Nobody was around the table. You could see that it was all clear, but we were able to get that little piece of footage there, and it was
really
that
cool.
night that we were there. And just other weird stuff. Like a lot of times sometimes we'll use EVPs, but a lot of times they don't really capture anything. Well, this night I just happened to say, look, we were in another room. I forget what the room numbers were, but 245 or something like that. But we were in this one room that apparently had this woman entity in this particular room that people have seen this apparition. And I had said, if there's the woman that's in this room, if you're here, could you, give us a sign that you're here? And as I said that, played it, and then playing it back, didn't really hear anything. But then going back into post-production, we hear a woman humming. And now I'm thinking, is there anybody else upstairs with us? But there was no one else on that floor. The guy had that whole area cleared out for us to do the investigation. So that was really interesting there. But a lot of times those EVPs don't work. But what does work for us is a magnetometer, and the magnetometer was going off the charts in this particular area. And all the lights were off and everything like that. But yeah, that was, and it's a beautiful inn. I mean, it's a really beautiful place to stay. But the other thing, we did another investigation at this Ma Chunk Opera House, which is right around the corner. I got them to do an investigation, and we got some crazy activity there too.
Oh my gosh. Well, talk about that. What did you capture? What did you get? Now I'm so curious.
So
Just keep going.
These places are awesome because, well, it used to be an old silent movie theater, and Dan, who was the guy that originally got us to go to the Inn at Jim Thorpe, we met with Vince, who is the owner of the Ma Chunk Opera House, and Dan is the general manager. And we sat there, and you know who joined me on that investigation was
Bill Burns.
Yeah,
Bill
from UFO
Burns.
Hunters.
Yeah, and for people who don't know who Bill Burns is, he is a staple in the ufology community and has been for a very long time. He used to be on a show called, I think it was UFO Hunters, I think that's what the show was.
Yeah.
And really, really quirky, interesting guy. So that's really awesome.
And my next door neighbor practically.
Oh, cool.
He lives literally like 20 minutes away.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. And I met Bill in like a coffee shop years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, Bill Burns, what are you doing here? It's like Scooby-Doo, and those guys go, oh my God, Mr. Jenkins. I'm like, Bill Burns. So it was crazy, and I was a huge fan. And even back then, during that show, I had said, man, I want to do some videos with Bill because I think that he's so cool. He's a wealth of information, and there we are, right there, and he's like right down the street. So, but we wound up doing we did a UFO video together, and then we did this Ma Chunk Opera House, and we did some other things together. And I still have some video footage of him on some other investigations with us that I haven't put out yet. But I said to Bill, I said, would you want to do this investigation at the Ma Chunk Opera House? And he was like, yeah, let's go up. So we took a ride up, and we're sitting there talking to Dan, or to Vince, and Vince is telling us a story that he saw this apparition of a woman up top of this balcony, and he went up there, and there's only two ways to go out. One is out the side door, which basically goes nowhere other than like 30 feet down to the street. There's no stairway or anything like that. Or to where Vince came up the stairs, and no one passed him, and he got up there and there was nobody there, and there was no
Very
other
cool.
anywhere to go. So with that, as he's telling us the story, and I didn't see it at the time, only until on the post production, I see two orbs fly out of his head, and they were just like and as he's having a difficult time trying to tell us about this one name, or this one, I guess this he was trying to recreate what happened, and he was having a difficult time saying this. As he's having this difficult time, I see these two orbs just go flying up, and you could see that in the video. It was so weird. It was weird. And
So you saw them with the naked eye. It wasn't like it was dust or something like that. It was actually like light.
It was light, and it wasn't a reflection from the camera or anything like that, but it was like but I didn't see it when we were actually talking to him. I only saw it on the post-production when I was going to edit it. I'm like, what is this? So then Dan tells us that there's two spirits that he's seen at the Opera House, which was the projectionist and his wife, who used to run the silent movie theater. So I'm thinking those two entities that flew out at Vince's head, could that be them? You know, I know it's so out there, but you know, here we're in a supernatural circumstance right now, so
Right.
we're talking about it. But yeah, so that was really cool, and just some other stuff happened. Dan would be like, you know, he was sweeping up one night, and he had the feeling that someone was watching him over the balcony, again where Vince had his sighting. So there's something more going on there. I would love to get back in there and do another follow-up, you know. That video was pretty short. It was like only like a 12, 15-minute video. But Bill was funny, man. We went up into the projectionist room, and we were getting all kinds of orb activity. It was just really strange.
That is so. These historical places are really cool because often they've got a lot of what people would identify as place memory or residual hauntings. You get a lot of that type of activity, and for people listening, place memory is when the location seems to record events. It seems to play back events that are not intelligent. It's not in real time. These things don't move objects or anything like that, but they're actually replaying events. And many people have theorized it has to do with electromagnetics. People have theorized it has to do with the makeup of the building, all sorts of things like that. So many times, a lot of these locations, these historical buildings, seem to have place memory, and you can get place memory in brand new buildings as well. For people that are wondering about that, but it's really fascinating to go into some of these places because it feels a little bit like you step back in time, which is pretty awesome. Speaking of Bill Burns, because we sort of keep going down that thread, you talk about some UFO cases as well in this, which are really, really interesting, both in Jersey and in Bucks County, which is pretty interesting. Like, a lot of these things, I think people think they happen kind of, you know, outside of them, but this is stuff that happens locally. This is stuff that can happen to you, as Mike,
no
as
doubt.
you and I know.
Oh my God.
So can you talk about these two UFO cases, because this is pretty interesting.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, we had the one, that was, I think, one of the first videos that Bill and I did together was this Monmouth, New Jersey UFO sightings that people had from 1958, 1970, and 2002. And a guy by the name of Joe Foster had reached out to me and said, look, I've had this experience when we lived on Doorbrook Farm in Doorbrook. Now it's a park. And I had, as a little kid, I had seen this silver sphere going down the Navy Road. It's a road called the Navy Road. And he saw it skimming the treetops, but it was a sphere.
Oh,
Well,
that's cool.
everybody, it was insane, yeah, and people were jamming the phone lines, calling the air base, trying to find out what was going on, and people even couldn't get through on the phone lines. They were totally jammed. So Joe has had a lot of different encounters, and then in 1970, people had seen this UFO again. Land this time. A police officer saw it land in a swampy area, and so much so that it actually left like round marks, like almost like crop circle type marks in the grass and in the hay area, in the swamp area, and impressions from the landing gear. So this was 1970, and then in 2002, they had a crop circle. Now the crop circle, it's kind of like they're not sure if it was hoaxed or if it was a real thing. No one saw any UFO, but they woke up one morning and there's this crop circle there. But it was also 2002 was also around the time that Signs came out.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to do that kind of correlation there. But anyway, we went and did this investigation. It was on one of the hottest freaking days of the year, and I'm sitting there wearing a suit jacket, and I don't know why I did that in this field, and oh my God, we were sweating, but but we went out to the field where this crop circle was supposed to be, and we took some soil samples, and we tried to get it analyzed for magnetite if there was anything there in the soil, but we never got a chance to do that. But because we were also thinking, well, could this be a hoax? Because a lot of people did think it was hoaxed. But the other sightings are very well documented, and people had come forward saying, look, this is what happened. This police officer saw it, and so we left that one saying that this was like New Jersey's Roswell. It was amazing, and there's just so much more there. I just got a report maybe about a month and a half ago of a guy and his family that saw the same type silver sphere, and amazing, just hovering there by this power plant, and it's in that particular area, and he drew what he saw, and he sent it to me, and the whole family saw it. So it was really interesting because it kind of mirrors what Joe is telling us. So all of these different connections are amazing, man. And
it's always interesting to get those correlating accounts, right?
Yeah.
When
oh my
you
God,
start to get those.
It would be great to get like anybody else that had seen that to come forward and say, what day was this? What time of year? I think he said his sighting was around 2003 or 4, and his whole family saw it. So, and everybody has the same drawing, pretty much, of what he sent me.
What do you think is bringing it back there? Like, if this is a UFO, what do you think is bringing it back to the area? Is there something that you've noticed that could be a draw?
Here's the thing. There was a nuclear base in that area.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there you go.
Mike's like, I knew that.
Yeah, Mike knew it. Mike knew.
Yeah.
He may be quiet, but he's quietly assessing.
Quietly assessing and wondering where I can interject.
We're waiting, Mike. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, no, that was it. It's really interesting that you bring that up, because I'm not surprised that was the thing. Considering what happened in the UK in the early '80s with things flying around. Yeah, it's always seems around nuclear bases, which is really kind of fascinating. Not every time, but the fact that they have an interest in that for some reason.
Oh my God, it's like crazy. Yeah. And that was the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we've got a paranormal convention coming up March 8th of 2025, and it's our second annual Bucks County Paracon, and we have Charles Halt, who is the guy from Rendlesham Forest, who actually was the guy that did that voice recording of what was going on that night.
Ooh.
That's
wow.
him. We got him to speak, and he's going to basically tell us the story again. But yeah, that famous Halt memo that went out about what they saw that night, and then it got buried, and no one ever knew. He never heard anything about it ever
Maybe
again.
Can you explain about what that was a little bit, Eric? So if people that haven't heard this story can sort of catch up.
So basically, 1980. In the UK, Rendlesham Forest Rendlesham Forest, and it was Bentwaters Air Force Base. Some airmen there had seen these crazy lights in the woods, and they thought it was maybe a downed aircraft. Well, they wound up going into the woods, and they found this triangular craft hovering above the ground, and it was small. It was maybe about 6 feet by like 5 feet or something like that. One of the guys touched this craft, and Jim Peniston was his name, and they had these weird hieroglyphics on the craft, and it was very smooth, but these hieroglyphics were kind of like rough to the touch. And he has said later on that he had all these like binary numbers going through his head after he touched this craft. To make a long story short, they saw this thing, it took off, they went back to Colonel Halt and a whole bunch of the other guys and said, look, this is what happened, and they made a report. Well, the next night, they came back. And this was like December 26th. So this was like the day after Christmas. These things came back. Well, they took a whole team of people out there, all the crew, to go out there. They set up lights and everything. And they're recording what they're seeing. And these things were coming in at different angles, going sharply. But the main thing is they were going over, at the time, was the nuclear, the base that had nuclear weapons stored there. And these things were shining lights down into there. And for years, he didn't tell anybody about what that was, you know, as far as what was in there. But it's been declassified now that they were storing nuclear weapons in there. Well, he's the guy that actually, he recorded it on a little voice memo recorder of what he's seeing, and you could hear it on YouTube. It's the Halt, Charles Halt, Rendlesham Forest UFO. And it's this whole account of what they were seeing in real time, what was going on. So it's a really amazing case, and it's been corroborated, but it's never really been explained. It's still a mystery, you know. But there were UFOs there. They were visited, and then some of the officials wanted to say that the guys were actually seeing the lighthouse light. That was the lighthouse and it was not that at all, because this thing was shining a beam down on their feet, and it was flying all over the place. So really, really cool stuff, you know. And to have him speak at this convention is awesome. He's a super nice guy, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, to switch gears a little bit from UFOs, because you've got so much in this book, and I want to get into some of the other cases. You have a chapter or a story in here about the Beast of Bryn Athyn. And I think this is interesting because most people have not heard of this. Like, this was new to me since we had been talking. Yeah. Like, this was so new to me, and I know it was new to Mike. This is really cool, and this is like a subject close to my heart, which is really great. So can we talk a little bit about the Beast of Bryn Athyn? Because I mean, it wouldn't be Halloween without a story like this. So.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, it closely mirrors, you know, the Dogman story of the Beast of Bray Road in Elkhorn. So it's apparently these and you know, from talking with you about Snoopy and the Dogman up by you. These creatures are seen all over the place, and I didn't realize this. I did not, you know, I had heard about Dogman, but I didn't really put too much into it until we had our own encounter, and then going to do this other, you know, case in Bryn Athyn. Now, Bryn Athyn, for your listeners, is an area. It's right outside of Philadelphia, and it's a beautiful area. It's in the Huntington Valley area. Bryn Athyn is there's a really great college there, Bryn Athyn College. There's a beautiful cathedral there. It's called Bryn Athyn Cathedral. Beautiful area. And this is where this creature's been seen, in this particular area. So when we did this investigation, a good friend of mine, Tom Carey, which I'm sure you probably had known, Tom is the authority on the Roswell UFO crash of 1947, talked with the original witnesses that actually handled the wreckage and saw the bodies from the crash. So Tom is he's an author. He's written, I think, 7 books on the subject. But Tom got into the Dogman, and he's basically bit into this thing like a dog biting.
Pun intended.
Exactly. But unintentionally, but intentionally. But he's just not letting go. It's just like, it has really taken him down some really incredible roads and he's talked to people that have had these experiences with these creatures. So we did this investigation, and Tom said we should really do a Dogman video and, you know, come down here. So at first we were getting a little bit of like resistance, because that area did not want to be known for anything like that. You know, it's
right.
A very religious community down there, so they didn't want to be known for this creature. Well, guess what, folks? It's there, and people are seeing it. So we got to do a video. But and it was cool, because you know what? We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything to tarnish the town's name or anything like that. We're not doing that. And we don't do that anyway. Anybody knows me, I don't exacerbate the fear factor. You know, it's like, I don't do that. We tell stories. We're in some crazy situations that could be dangerous, but we're there for the good of telling that story, you know, like you guys are. So when we heard this, it was like, oh my God, well, Tom had all these witnesses that had seen this creature. This guy, Rich Shao, had seen this thing in, like, I think it was 1991. And he was waiting for a buddy of his at the baseball field. And they were going to go watch a football game or something at the time. And he's sitting there looking at the baseball field, and he's seeing this thing, like this shadow. It looked like a shadow, but it was like a 6 to 8 foot shadow just gliding into the field from, like, right field. And it was
that's not scary at all.
No.
Mike's
No,
like, I'm out.
Like everyday occurrence, you know.
Just a Mike-sized hole in the wall.
Exactly. You know, this is something we see every day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he's sitting there. He's like, what am I seeing? What is this? And the reason why he was seeing it, because the church up above up on the hill, there was a church up there that had floodlights shining in the back. So you're seeing the shadow. So it's like backlit. So he's looking at this thing, and he's seeing it go this way, and it's going into center field, and then it's going into the wooded area, and it's kind of dusk too, so you're not really seeing much of anything. But he heard this, or he saw this, and the thing is, I think he said it was really like there was snow on the ground. There was a little bit of snow, and you would think that you'd hear crunch, crunch, crunch from the feet, but there was nothing like that. It was like, because it was gliding. So he went over to where they saw the thing go down this one path by this pine tree. They chased after it. They get into the woods where they saw it go in, and then all of a sudden they hear this chomping, chomping, chomping coming back through the woods, coming back toward them. And then they ran out of there and got out of there, went to his buddy's house, and just got out of that. So never saw it, but they weren't going to hang around to check it out. And not only he remembers that, but there were a few other people around the area that remember that scene of this thing coming through the woods, that were hearing it, and that actually saw this shadow. Well, it mirrors exactly what people are seeing in Elkhorn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, it's when it's on two legs, it looks like it's gliding. Mm-hmm. When it's on all fours, it's very fast. And then we met with another witness, Michelle, who had seen this creature. God, she said at the time, this was a couple of years ago we did the video, so say 17 years earlier, she had seen this thing which appeared in a flash of light. It appeared in this flash of light, showed up, stood up, and then it went down on all fours very fast, and then disappeared again. So again, we're talking about, man, could this be coming in and out of a portal?
Yeah.
Because I think Lee Hampel's property in Elkhorn, is a portal. He's got pictures of portals, but I think what we experienced out there, both with not only the creature but with digitally what happened to us, I think there's some kind of weird energies going on out there, obviously. But
100%.
To have it going on out here was amazing, and that actually people were seeing the same thing out here. So
well, I want to break in before we get any further, because Morgan and I had a very similar experience when I was in Alberta last winter, and it was snow on the ground. Again, we were out on the property that is associated with Snoopy, and along the edge of the property line, I could see something close to the ground, exactly like what you're describing, and it being lower to the ground, I thought, okay, so is it an animal of some kind? But it was this amorphous sort of smoky, shadowy thing that was just moving back and forth along the property line very quickly. And I was like, are my eyes playing tricks on me? What is going on? I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I was like pointing, like, there it is. There's this weird thing.
We saw it. We definitely saw it.
Yeah. So, this Dogman stuff, it's interesting how it always comes up as the sort of the same thing. It's not quite there, but it is there. And
well, what's really cool to me about some of this too is that, like, I've seen them where you could reach out and touch them.
Yeah.
Like I've seen moments, and they're usually very quick moments, but I've seen them solid enough that you'd swear, like, I can understand how people make the argument that, oh no, this is flesh and blood. Like, I get the argument that this is flesh and blood. I don't.
Yeah.
I think everything is spiritual. I think everything's on the continuum of non-physical. So I mean, I don't necessarily categorize these things in one category or another, but I think they have that. I don't like that. I don't know whether it's like control over that or what, but I mean, I've seen something that solid disappear into smoke, and it's like what happened. And then the portal thing that you just brought up. I had friends, we were out at an investigation site last summer, and I swear to God that's what we saw. And I don't know how else to describe this thing other than this bright light that showed up. It was so intense. We were probably staring at it for a good at least 15 to 20 seconds. This thing was in mid-space. And our brains were going, what are we looking at? Like, we didn't even, it was everything we could do to just, it was so odd. But again, in the same area, like what you're talking about, Eric, like this sort of paranormal hotspot, dogman sighting, all of this.
I don't know what it is, but you're right. I mean, it's like, and again, Lee's got those pictures of the mist, this weird mist, right?
Yep.
So you're talking about smoke. It's going up in smoke there. He's got a picture of this weird black mist that comes over this deer, right?
Yep.
And then in the next picture, the mist is gone, and so's the deer.
Yeah.
So it's really weird what is going on that way. And look, Lee's got a lot of these pictures that he wants to keep pretty close to the vest. And
I hear that. I'm the same way, so I get that.
Because not only, they could be worth a lot of money too. That in his mind, that's what he's thinking.
Right.
That, and it could possibly be true. I don't know. But there are some things that, that I've seen that I can't explain what it is. But here's the other thing. When we did that investigation in Elkhorn, we had that town hall meeting follow-up that we did back in 2022.
I remember that, yeah.
And remember, we had 144 people showed up to tell their story of seeing this creature. And they all described the same thing. When it was on two legs, it looked like it was gliding, and on all fours, it's fast. And then here in Bryn Athyn, they're saying the same thing. So we're like, oh my God, it's the same creature. And again, so I, not being too familiar with it, and I also have to say it's my stupidity of being in Elkhorn and not having any protection when we encountered this thing, which was crazy because I thought to when we first wanted to do this video, I thought it was going to be BS. I really didn't think we were going to see anything. To be honest with you, that's what I thought. But man, my whole perspective changed when we heard those howls and we saw the eye shine.
Yeah. The eyes are unmistakable.
And you know how it is. It's like when you hear that howl, it's like, okay, what are we hearing? What is this?
Yeah.
But what got us was when Dominic goes, shine the light over to the corn. And when we did that, we see eyes going like this,
it's right there.
Back.
Yeah.
It was insane. So I said, okay, we're out of here. Let's go.
Yeah. And just to touch on the photo thing, because I get a lot of people asking, well, why haven't you published your photos of Snoopy, which I have, and for me, here's the main reason for everybody that's asking about that is that what people I think don't realize about paranormal photography or spirit photography or anything like that is that the camera is not in and of itself capturing an entity. It's being influenced by outside energy, and all you have to do is understand the inner workings of a camera to understand what that is. The camera can't see past what the naked eye is seeing. So if you're not seeing it, the camera's not seeing it. So whatever's happening when you're capturing one of these photos, it's like an imprint on the camera. It's like an imprint into the image. And to me, if I've got these photos, it's because I was allowed. I was given permission to see them.
That's a great way of. I never heard that before. That's a great way
and to me, it's like I was gifted this because I know how elusive they are. I know how shy they are. I know that they don't like to be seen. They typically run as soon as they know that they've been outed, and so I hold them very dear to my heart, and for me it's a trust thing. Is that, you know, I've been gifted these images, and I'm like, you know, I've got them framed on my wall, but I you know, they don't go out, and the only people that see them are the people that I feel, you know, deserve to be seeing them, and then I cut it off. But that's kind of how I view it, and that's why they're not online, guys. Yeah.
And also, right, guys, the way AI and all the fakery is going on out there too.
Oh, it's insane.
It's insane. So it's ruining the research that we're doing, because people are putting these things out that are clearly fake, but people are thinking they're real, you know, and it's just so not true. I mean, when I see these UFO photos or videos, and it's clearly faked, you know, it's just like, so I think what I like to do is I like to go back to when we had photos themselves, right? 35 millimeter photos of these things that are not digital, right? And the Patterson-Gimlin film with Bigfoot. You know, those guys just happened to be there at the right time in the right place that day. Yeah. And they were able to capture this incredible thing. So it's, you know, I think it's all about people, places, and things. Timing is everything too.
Timing and gratitude, I think. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why, and it sounds so hokey on the surface, but I was doing an interview with a radio station here recently, and this is what we ended up talking about was the approach coming into these areas that have Dogman and Bigfoot and whatnot. And the one thing that, you know, my friends and I always do first is we give thanks. As soon as we get there, we give thanks. And she's Indigenous. My friend Alicia's Indigenous, and she always brings like the proper like shell and sweetgrass or sage, something that, because many people think, well, sage is, you know, to protect yourself. Well, it's about giving thanks. It's about gifting something, and that's the one thing that we always start with, is that we start with a prayer. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for, you know, no pressure on anything that's there to show themselves. You know, no, like, you know, you better get out here and I'm gonna hit a tree with a branch. But you know, but just to say, you know what, thank you so much for having us, and we appreciate you and whatnot. And like, I would say 95+% of the time when we approach it like that, we get some sort of a visitation. Something will show up, and it's usually the Dogman most of the time.
Yep. It's amazing. I mean, the whole thing, I find it completely fascinating, because I think the people that are having these experiences, and like, again, you said that, you know, gifting, I like that idea, and giving thanks. Yeah. You know, because we don't know. I mean, it's a rare thing to happen, right? And I could see how people don't get the footage too, because you know how it is. You've got maybe a 5 to 10 second window, right, Mike? When you saw that creature, like how many? It was there and then gone. You know.
Yeah, I could perceive it for around 10-15 seconds at the most. Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to get a picture of that because it was so far away. But it was there. You saw it. You know, so that's the whole thing. The night of you were talking about the UFOs. We did a UFO flap. There was a huge UFO flap here last year in Bucks County, and we had one in 2008, but we had one here last year. And remember when, like, the government was like saying that there was balloons flying over, and
right,
they were coming from up around your area too.
Yeah.
They were up way.
Oh
up.
yes, we remember that.
They shot them down.
One of them said supernatural circumstances on the side. I don't know what. But no, I mean, it was it was crazy, because people were like, but then you heard the reports, other things were up there, like things the size of a mid-sized car hovering there. I mean, what are we talking about here? Yeah. It's not a balloon. Yeah. What is that? So there was a real, and that got hushed up really quickly. Yeah. But we had a lot of really wild stuff going on here. People seeing 3 points of light, these triangular shaped objects. A guy right down the street from me reached out to me and said, look, you know, I've been getting this weird, like for the last 3 seasons now, this really weird light that keeps coming over my property, and it looks like a giant orb. Would you want to come up and do an investigation?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm like, yes.
Is that a question?
I know. He's like literally 15 minutes away. He's also now one of my biggest jazz fans too. He loves the quartet. But we went over there, and him and his wife Robin, these guys are super, super cool. And he's not, you know, he's a scientist. He's like, I think he's like a business accountant or something like that. But he's a scientific kind of guy. And he's not one to make up wild claims of whatever he's seeing, right? They were having these experiences and wanted it to be documented. And I love the fact that he didn't mind, telling us his name, having his wife's name there, because he even said in the video, I have a reputation in the community, and people know how I think, and people know that, I'm always trying to, figure out what this is. So he had such a profound effect on this thing had a profound effect on him that it was just like, it's still, he's still wrapping his head around it. But we got over there and he showed me the footage, and literally it looks like an orb, just with like different points of light. And people could see this in my video. It's called UFOs over Bucks County. And people were seeing this low-flying, brightly lit object, multiple lights around it, hovering, silent, and they're drawing what they were seeing. And I mean, so much so, then I got reports from a nurse and video of a daylight sighting outside of this hospital window. She was at Doylestown Hospital. She's looking out the window and sees these 3 points of light in the middle of the day. And then it was weird because the two lights were hovering there, and the one on top, it was at first it was a triangle, and then it went all the way up and it made it into a straight line. So
Weird.
this
Really
was
weird.
intelligently controlled. Then I got footage just in February of this year of literally a fleet of UFOs, red orbs going over Louisiana. So a woman down there sent me this footage down there, and she was a complete skeptic. A friend of hers said, "Oh, my friend has this footage. Would you like to see it?" She was a complete skeptic, but now she's a believer. And literally this whole fleet, it was like, sometimes you always see these things in 3 points, right? 3 points of light. Well, it was at least 8 of these objects were coming over. It was unbelievable.
They're hungry for gumbo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, this is
Oh my
amazing, and there's so many cases. I can't recommend this book enough to people, because if they want sort of a smattering of how interesting this field gets,
Yeah.
this is a book for you.
Oh my
Eric, where
God.
can they find this? Where can they get this?
They can get it on Amazon.
Perfect.
And they could also, if they wanted to, get a signed copy. I could get one to them as well, and they could go right onto my website and find out how to do that. But mainly through Amazon, and it's available. It's available in Canada. It's available all over the place.
So Eric's website is ericmintelinvestigates.org.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
Yep, no problem.
And we'll
And,
add that to the notes as well.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell us a little bit more about Paracon, Bucks County Paracon in March 2025? Because somebody I know who I live with myself, is interested in maybe showing up.
Oh,
We'd
yeah,
like
yeah.
to come.
Definitely, for sure. We've got March 8th of 2025. It's the second annual Bucks County Paracon, happening at Bucks County Community College right here in Newtown, Pennsylvania, but right here in Bucks County. And we've got an incredible lineup of speakers this year. We've got Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files. We've got Colonel Charles Halt from the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. We've got Peter Robbins, we all know Peter.
I know Peter. Yeah,
Peter
Peter's
is a
great.
ufologist who worked with Bud Hopkins and the alien abduction phenomena. We've got Tom Carey, who's also going to be there talking about the Roswell deathbed confessions. But we've also got, everybody knows this guy, Stan Gordon. We've got Stan Gordon talking about the Bigfoot UFO connection, and also about the Kecksburg UFO crash from 1960, I believe it was 65 in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. And myself and Dominic Sattel will be speaking as well. And I don't think there's anybody else I missed. I think I got everybody there. But we're gonna it's gonna be a great day. It's from 11 to 7. Or it might even be 11 to 8 o'clock, but we've got each speaker's going on for about 45 minutes. Some will be on for an hour. And then at the end, we're going to have a great panel discussion, and just get everybody there and everybody in the audience to ask questions. We're going to have vendors there. We're going to have lots of people there. I mean, last year, it was off the charts successful. We had Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens was our speaker.
Right.
we didn't know what was going to happen. We thought, well, maybe 100 people will show up. We had 600 and some odd people show up, in a 350 seat theater. So it was amazing. All of our vendors sold out of all of their merchandise. The food trucks sold out of all their food. So it was a really great, successful event. Everybody left there very happy. There was a lot of happy people. And that's what I try to create. I want to create that kind of a vibe, So Mike, if you're coming, and Morgan, please, next year, I would love to have you as a speaker too, because that would be really cool. So
I'd love that. I'm in.
I want to work on something like that too. So I think this year is going to be the pivotal year for us to be able to get more people, from outside the area to do that. I was this close to having Travis Walton.
Oh.
But yeah. I could not get he was down for doing the Paracon, but I have not been able to get a hold of him. So I don't know what is going on. So I don't know if he got abducted again or what, but I can't get a hold of him.
Yeah, so, hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, he's
I'm sure
an older guy.
Yeah. He's been doing a lot of talks. So
yeah, he's probably tired. I'd be tired talking about it since the 70s.
Yeah, 1975.
It's been a long time.
Oh my God! And you know what? The thing with his story, it's never wavered in 49 years.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then with my jazz quartet, we've got a lot of concerts and stuff coming up in November and December. So it's funny. I do paranormal most of the year, and then the last half of the year I'll do our Charlie Brown jazz concerts.
Yeah.
So, or our tributes to Dave Brubeck. So it's a lot of fun.
I just have to say, I love that you do the Charlie Brown thing. I think that is just so freaking cool. Like, who doesn't want that at Christmas?
I know.
Really? Yeah.
Look, I'm all about creating happiness. I live life like it's every morning is like Christmas morning. You got to have a sense of wonder, right, in this world. With the crazy crap that's going on, we got to have we got to still maintain the creative aspect. We've got to maintain, just a positive feeling, and yeah, so it's, that's how I like to live. And I hopefully, and I love paranormal. I just love these stories, and, I've connected with you guys and some incredible people like yourselves, so it's a lot of fun. So, and hopefully the book, and here it is again, guys, there it is. Will be, selling. It's selling really well now. So and who knew? I didn't know it would be that easy to publish a book. It wasn't really that easy, but I finally just decided to do it. So
well, it's become easier, I think, for just people to get their things out there, which is I think it's a really big positive thing, because you're not feeding the market agenda, right? Like, people can put these stories out there, and they don't have to be endorsed by a celebrity or something like that in order to do it. Now you can put it out there, and I think these stories are meant for that. I think this is a field that is meant for connection and connecting with others, and for connecting just with non-physical and all of that. So I think the more of this we see, the better.
Oh, totally. I did want, somebody just keeps bothering me here. He wanted to say hi. Hold on, real quick. He just wanted to say hi. He just wanted to say hi.
E.T., we now have a guest spot. E.T. has been a guest on Supernatural Circumstances. I'm just saying.
That is massive. Holy crap.
He's amazing.
He's a screen ready E.T. or what do they call that? Screen accurate E.T.
Yes. Wow.
He's so cool. Oh, he's so cool. Well, Eric, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, as always. Thank you so much. And Morgan, I've got your interview that I'm going to be editing next week, so that'll be out soon too.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's exciting. Well, everybody, I want to just tell everyone that, first of all, thank you guys for tuning in. And if you want to see the extended version of this episode, please please subscribe to Supernatural Circumstances on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get great podcasts. Please join us there. We've got a lot more to say, Mike and I, and we look forward to seeing everybody. So this has been awesome. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Yes, every day. Thank you, guys.